Alright, we're rolling.
All right. It was hard not to talk
That's
before
the
we
one
got to
thing
the car.
we haven't thought of, we didn't really think about with this show is it's a really awkward thing of us going to the car where we can't actually talk about the movie until we get the camera rolling. We just saw Ex Machina, or Machina, or
However you want to.
like
I think
Deus
it's
Ex
technically
Machina.
Machina. Yeah. I thought it was brilliant.
That was amazing.
I thought it was so unique and complex, but it was so many different things.
And let me just say, too, like, if you have any interest in seeing this movie whatsoever, stop watching.
Yeah,
Just don't
there's
watch.
nothing we can
The
say
best-
that would
if
make you go in any better
If
than
you
going
like
in
science
blind.
fiction whatsoever, just go see the damn movie and quit watching this right now.
I knew nothing.
I knew very little. I'd seen the
very little.
trailers.
I'd seen the trailer
Sorry,
as well, so I
it's
knew
hot.
kind of the concept, but I was still blown away. And
It was
honestly,
amazing.
it kept me guessing to the very last
Yeah,
second.
it played with your expectations really well.
From the get-go, there was kind of this undertone of dread that they peppered in very carefully, and you weren't even necessarily sure why it was there.
The whole movie, you're knowing something's going to go wrong. You're not quite sure what it is, and they throw you a lot of things to kind of throw you off. For instance, very early on when Donald Gleason?
It's Donald Gleason.
Donald Gleason.
Yes.
Kimmer looked this up before the review, so we know how to pronounce it. When he arrives at this guy's facility, he's taking a shower, and they show like the scar on his back. Complete misdirection to make you kind of suspect maybe this guy is actually a robot too.
All bets are off, once things start happening, you don't know where it's going to go.
Yeah.
I think if Stanley Kubrick got to make a version of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, it would feel a lot like this film. Or if maybe like Fincher or David Lynch got to make a Pinocchio.
Yeah, the David Fincher Pinocchio, that's a good way to put it. It really kind of made me think of Moon a lot, where it's just this independent sci-fi film that just nails it. It comes out of nowhere, and it's just like perfect science fiction. It doesn't go where you would expect a studio movie to go.
It doesn't care.
It doesn't leave you happy, and that's what makes it memorable and makes it a film we're going to be talking about 10 years from now.
Oscar Isaac is kind of a
we got two
take on Steve Jobs, or some brilliant.
The real parallel here, I think, was like the Google executive. Like he's created the search engine company that's kind of leading the way, and
he has a contest with his company where if you win, it's a random drawing. You get to go and stay with this guy, this kind of recluse that everyone knows about, at his home in the middle of nowhere. Donald Gleason's character, who's a programmer for his company, he wins. So he's flown there on this helicopter and dropped off in the middle of nowhere to this gorgeous but kind of creepy, isolated,
very modern,
place.
Beautiful, but like kind of the more you look at it, the more you realize there's sort of some things wrong.
And Oscar Isaac
he was awesome.
He could switch on and off between likable, almost charismatic, to terrifying, and
there are all these little
monster.
things that are off because he's like a genius with a lot of money. But he's terribly, like, he's just really smart guy, but yet he's like always getting drunk and he's like working out constantly.
And I'm glad he was flawed.
What I really enjoyed was just that I didn't really see any of it coming.
No, I didn't see any of it coming. And
really, sometimes like these movies, you'll get a great idea and the execution's not great, or sometimes you'll get, like in the case of Sunshine, actually, for comparison, you have actually pretty solid execution, I think, but an idea that wasn't quite there.
And that's a film that, is gorgeous to watch, and all those components are there, but it just
great score in that movie too. Yeah,
this film on every level
it rights that wrong,
nails it.
Yeah, it's almost like Alex Garland was trying to make up for what he wanted Sunshine to be, and was correcting it with this.
But what's interesting about it is Donald Gleason's character is competing against the smartest man in the world.
Right. You think you've largely figured out Ava, but then she surprises you at the end too.
Yeah,
and you think you figured her out, even though she's dealing with complex problems in kind of the well-tread territory of what makes a computer human, which we've seen in all kinds of sci-fi, and we think we found this really sympathetic character who's in love and wants to get free, and there's even more to that than you think there is, and that's what's really satisfying about it.
A lot of really brilliant, talented people are super eccentric, but also they're their own worst enemy in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
I mean, he was a damaged person, an egomaniac, but he was also a control freak and a bit of a sociopath, really.
And he was willing to take risks, because you would think that in a situation like that, he wouldn't be drinking for that week that he's got this guy. And he knows that this guy's really smart and a programmer, and that he could steal his key card and do what he did. He knows that he's capable of that, and yet he allows himself to be vulnerable to it.
Uh-oh. Have we been recording?
Did it get too hot?
Alright, so
it's technical difficulties.
A little bit of overheating.
We got the camera sitting in the hood of the car, and it was a hot car. We didn't have the air on very high for sound. We may or may not have lost some very valuable first 14 minutes of the video.
Where were we?
Both Oscar Isaac and Donald Gleason are also going to be in the new Star Wars.
Yes. It's kind of unlike anything I've seen. I mean, it almost, by limiting it to that location and that many characters, you could think it would almost sound gimmicky or like an indie thing, like, you know, that's a smart concept, but it's not that.
It was exactly what it needed to be, and there was nothing left, like, wanting or missing, or...
Yeah.
It's a very rare kind of film that happens.
Right.
There's an amazing little moment, like, about halfway through the movie, it's this little, coordinated, little dance scene.
Yes.
That just came out of the blue and was like, I don't know, I just really loved that little moment.
I did too.
For Oscar Isaac and...
But also because it was kind of frightening.
It was creepy. It's like this creepy moment where he flips on the music, and his little sex slave, which you're already assuming is a robot, just starts immediately dancing, and the lights go down, and he's trying to get Donald Gleason to start dancing, and he starts dancing with her, and they're in perfect sync. And it's not just some drunk guy coming in and moving around. Like, he breaks out into
he
it's
was
like a little disco
dancing.
moment. It was amazing. Really, and they're both in sync, and it was like this really strange, surreal moment that was actually kind of beautiful.
With the smartest man in the world, the most wealthy in the world, and he has all these things. Like, come on, dance, have fun. But in that context, he just was creeped out, and it was frightening.
But it's also so kind of out of place in a way. I mean, you can justify in the story, but it's also that's what made it feel kind of like a Kubrick movie in a way too. So it's just this weird but beautiful thing, and it's more about the sensory experience almost in a way than what it is in the story. I mean, it makes sense in the story too, but it's just out of left field kind of moment it's artful.
Right.
It's just really enjoyable to me.
Right.
There's also a lot of great philosophy.
They throw some heavy concepts out there.
Donald Gleason walks into Oscar Isaac's room, and Oscar's drunk and sitting on his couch looking straight at this Jackson Pollock painting on a wall. They start talking about it from a perfect vantage point that really is a great metaphor for the android and everything, which is that, you know, if Jackson Pollock was trying to be calculated and come up with the perfect moments to paint, he would never start painting. His paintings are these pure expressions, and it was this great analogy for Donald Gleason trying to explain away all of the science behind Ava and instead of the emotion. It's like, well, if you start getting to trying to rationalize the science of sexuality or attraction or something, you're never going to get anywhere. The point is, you got to kind of jump in.
Right. I thought that was a really great way to kind of put it.
Really poignant.
And it made sense to me. You know,
and it even kind of struck a nerve for me, as a filmmaker too. It's that's sort of my philosophy on film, is you can't sit around and talk about ideas of things you want to make all day, or you'll never end up making anything. At some point, you just got to go in and
just do it.
But I can't recommend this movie enough.
Yeah, go see it. It's
a great counterpoint to what's playing right now. The opposite of the blockbuster. It stands on its own. You got to see it.
You need to. Gotta see it.
I hope you didn't watch the review, because you need to have seen it before we just talked about it.
Yeah, if you watch the review, I still hope you go see it, but you should go in blind.
We really just ruined it for you.
Yeah.